Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Self-Compassion for Parents. Nurture Your Child by Caring for Yourself by Susan M. Pollak, EDD. Foreword by Christopher Germer. Narrated by Leslie Howard. Foreword. As a parent, have you ever had the wish that a wise and compassionate person would show up at your doorstep just when you needed it the most? When your toddler has a meltdown? When your daughter gets bullied in high school? When you disagree with your partner about parenting? As holiday stress starts mounting? Or when you're just plain overwhelmed? If so, this book is for you. Dr. Susan Pollak has been a mother for over 30 years and has been practicing clinical psychology for even longer. She has been engaged in meditation practice for decades and is a leader in the integration of mindfulness and self-compassion into psychotherapy and daily life. Using compelling examples, Dr. Pollak makes it clear that she knows the challenges of parenthood from the inside out, and she gently leads listeners into a new relationship with themselves and their families. A relationship of loving, connected presence. That's self-compassion. When parents hear about self-compassion for the first time, they're likely to say, "Oh, I need that." Parents often find themselves at the edge of their capacity to be kind and compassionate to their loved ones, and they instinctively understand that they need to nourish themselves to have more to give to others. However, there are many obstacles to self-compassion, to giving ourselves the same kindness and understanding that we so readily give to others. There are the misconceptions that self-compassion is a lot like self-pity, self-indulgence, selfishness, or that it will make us weak and unmotivated. Actually, burgeoning research shows precisely the opposite, that self-compassionate people behave more compassionately toward others. They take better care of themselves, they're more emotionally resilient, they have greater perspective on their problems, and they are more motivated to achieve their goals. Other obstacles to self-compassion are personal, such as messages from the past, that we should disregard ourselves and only pay attention to others, especially one's family, or that we just don't deserve to stop and nourish ourselves because there's so much that needs to be done. The good news is that anyone can learn to be more self-compassionate. Kristen Neff, a research psychologist at the University of Texas, Austin, and I, developed an 8-week training program starting in 2010 that is currently taught around the world, Mindful Self-Compassion, MSC. Interest in this subject is enormous, perhaps because the impact of self-compassion can be felt almost immediately. It can also be an epiphany to discover that each of us has the capacity to give ourselves much of the kindness and understanding that we seek, often in vain, from others. Susan Pollak understood the power of self-compassion early on. She was one of the very first MSC teachers and is currently an MSC teacher trainer. I am so glad that Susan is sharing in this book her deep insight into self-compassion and her intimate knowledge of MSC. Parents are especially ripe for self-compassion. They know struggle and they know compassion. They simply need to make an occasional U-turn with their compassion and discover the positive influence it can have on themselves as well as their families. This book is one of the most effortless introductions to self-compassion that I know. It does not teach about self-compassion, but connects with the direct experience of parenting through detailed examples, personal anecdotes, and elegant exercises on how to transform parenting struggles through mindfulness and self-compassion. It is indeed like having a wise and compassionate friend at your side, but better than that, it shows listeners how to be their own wise and compassionate friend. You don't need to wait even a minute for your friend to show up. The invitation of this book is to let go of all those behaviors that make parenting more difficult than it already is. Comparing yourself to other parents, comparing your kids to other kids, blaming yourself for inevitable mistakes, or needlessly quarreling with your kids or a partner. Instead, the invitation is to turn toward yourself in a genuine way in the midst of struggle. Become curious about what you're feeling, and then begin to tend to yourself. Tend to your heart, allowing yourself to be in that moment just as you are. Christopher Germer, Ph.D., Harvard Medical School, Cambridge Health Alliance. Introduction. Recently, I was helping some cousins with preparations at a family wedding in the countryside. One of them was a mom who had 3 young kids, including a newborn. We began to talk about parenting. "So how am I doing?" Emma asked me point blank, looking anxious. "I'm the last person to judge," I reassured her. As one child pulled on her leg, demanding attention, I paraphrased a line from one of my favorite essays by the writer Tilly Olson and shared it. "To be a mother is to be constantly interruptible." She laughed and said, "And to be constantly correctable and constantly criticized. I never feel like I'm doing it right. Sometimes when my kids are rambunctious, people stare at me like I'm raising juvenile delinquents. I refuse to put them in straitjackets with muzzles or keep them on a tight leash like a trained dog. When I was a kid, I felt free to run and climb and yell and be wild. Now it seems that it's not okay for kids to make noise and have fun. It's like they should be constantly quiet and contained." She confided, "It's impossible." Emma's words stayed with me and troubled me. She articulated something I hear from almost all the parents I know. Parenting is hard for everyone. We never feel good enough. Things rarely go the way we imagine they will, and when they don't, we blame ourselves, criticize our kids, push harder, and try to exert more control. We become anxious and depressed. Our kids become anxious and depressed. We look over our shoulder, comparing ourselves with our friends, families, neighbors. We lose sleep. What are we doing wrong? Is there some way off this interminable and joyless merry-go-round? Stop. Breathe. Listen. Stop beating yourself up. Cut yourself some slack. Stop fighting with your kid, yourself, your partner. Freud was onto something, as was Emma. Parenting is an impossible profession. And trying to dominate or muzzle our kids is a losing battle. The experts tell us that ultimately very little can be predicted or controlled. We are all exhausted, anxious, and worried, and we are not alone. One historian of American culture noted that in no other country has there been so pervasive a cultural anxiety about the rearing of children. We wonder if someone, someplace, does it better. Do French parents have the magic recipe? Do tiger mothers get a better return on their investment? Anthropologists tell us that Japanese babies sleep and Mexican siblings don't fight. Should we relocate? Make a U-turn. No, start where you are. This book offers a radical shift in perspective, based on decades of research on mindfulness and compassion. The seeds for happier and less combative parenting are within us, not on another continent. We don't have to feel angry or helpless and drive our children and ourselves to exhaustion. There is another way. Instead of the constant struggle to fix or change your kids, try a U-turn. Extend some kindness and compassion to yourself. Begin to nurture yourself so your kids can thrive. Huh? You shake your head. You roll your eyes. You're busy. You don't have time for this. It sounds too selfish and silly. Most parents tell me this. As a Harvard-trained psychologist with 2 grown children and over 30 years of clinical experience, I've worked with a lot of parents and children. And I've read a lot of books on how to parent. The predominant focus is often on how to fix our kids, how to make them behave, how to get them to sleep, how to get them into a good college and guarantee success. In short, how to make them into what we want them to be. But rarely do we achieve the results we want. What happened to joy, happiness, exuberance? We don't need to be so hard on them or ourselves. The current research says that we can motivate more with compassion than criticism. Really. We can shift the focus from constant doing to simply being. We can stop running, turning ourselves into frantic, raging parents racing to get the kids to soccer, little league and ballet and rush hour traffic while they are biting and punching each other in the car. No judgment here. I've been there. I was the frantic mother in the car, spread too thin, running on empty, trying to do way too much, and losing it. It was not sustainable for anyone. I tried to find a way back to balance and sanity. This book draws from over 3 decades of parenting, clinical work, and meditation. The theoretical and scientific foundation of this book is the pioneering work of my colleagues, Drs. Christopher Germer and Kristen Neff, who developed the transformative Mindful Self-Compassion MSc course, which I have been teaching since its inception in 2010. In addition to MSc, which has been taught to tens of thousands of people, this parenting guide is full of stories and examples from my years of clinical practice with parents and children and my own experience as a parent. The illustrations are composites to protect privacy. I have paired these stories with practices and reflections drawn from my understanding of what is effective and from the experiences of many people who have been helped by these exercises. My hope is that this book will speak to you where you are and will help you with your parenting dilemmas. Things don't have to be so hard, and we don't have to suffer so much, nor do our children. May this book help bring you and your family some joy, happiness, laughter, and compassion. How to use this book. There is no right way to use this book. You don't have to listen sequentially. Just jump right in and find a chapter or story that speaks to you and start there. If you're new to mindfulness, the first few chapters have practices for beginners. I've tried to mix mindfulness and compassion exercises with reflections to make the material accessible to everyone. The reflections are designed to help you focus on what you need, so grab a notebook and pen, or record your responses on your phone or tablet if that's easier. Don't have time right now? I get it. I didn't either when my kids were little. Just go to Guileford's website and click on Audio Meditations, and download the selected audio practices to use while you are doing the dishes, drinking your morning coffee, making school lunches, or driving. Please keep your eyes open. But the most important thing to remember, as one of my mindfulness teachers told me years ago, is that there is no way to do this wrong. Come on, really? You say. Yep, really. I'd spent a lifetime castigating myself for the most minor mistakes. No way to fail, she would tell us. Was this teacher an alien from another universe? What substance was she on? And would she share it? Basking in the presence of her compassion, humor, and wisdom, I thought of that unforgettable line from When Harry Met Sally. I decided that I wanted to have what she was having. The good news is that mindfulness and compassion are available to all of us, and we can share them with those around us. These are skills you can develop. The practices aren't for already serene people who have everything together. You don't have to be good at sitting still. You don't have to be vegan, sugar-free, and decaffeinated. You can be as you are. Overworked, anxious, neurotic, sleep-deprived, and barely keeping it together. It's fine to be a mess. I certainly was. If you can breathe, and don't look now, you're already doing it. You can do this. Welcome. 1. Make it stop. I can't keep up. Parenting is overwhelming. Out of gas. It was one of those mornings. The baby hadn't slept. Amy's husband was out of town, and 3-year-old Sophie insisted on wearing her new tutu to nursery school as snowflakes began to pile up on the New England January morning. Plus, they were late. Of course they were late. Amy had time to feed the kids, but no time to feed herself. "You can't wear your tutu and ballet slippers to school today," Amy insisted. "It's snowing." "I don't care," Sophie retorted and resumed pirouettes. Amy was in no mood for a fight. "Honey, we're late," she pleaded, her voice rising. We're late, Sophie mocked, imitating her high-pitched voice. "Enough, no back talk. We are going, now." "Put on that jacket," Amy said, trying to sound firm but calm, as all the good parenting books recommend. "You can't make me," Sophie chanted in a sing-song. She gave up the dance and plopped down defiantly and stuck out her tongue. Amy was furious. "Enough. I've had it," she yelled, picking up both kids and dragging them to the car, jackets spilling out of her hands. Opening the door one-handed to get the baby in, she tossed Sophie her jacket. Sophie immediately sensed a new stand she could take, with her mother's conviction and compassion waning and rage seething. She promptly refused. "You're not the boss of me," Sophie taunted. "You can just freeze, see if I care," Amy retorted, as she buckled both kids into their car seats and sped off. Sophie started to wail, and then the baby joined in. "Stop it, now!" Amy hissed, feeling overwhelmed and helpless. Clearly, this was not one of her finer moments in parenting. "I want my daddy," Sophie cried. "He isn't a meanie like you." It was a relief for everyone to get to school. The teacher was understanding as she greeted them, wiped Sophie's tears, and led her inside with a sympathetic smile to Amy. Within minutes, Sophie was coloring and laughing with her classmates. Amy left, shamefacedly waving goodbye and feeling like a terrible mother. While Sophie had moved on, Amy's anger boomeranged as hot shame, guilt, and regret. She began to berate herself, saying, "I really suck at this. I'm an awful mother." As she was driving home, the car began to sputter and spurt, then finally stopped. "Oh, shit," she thought. Tom, her husband, usually filled up the car, but with him out of town, she hadn't even remembered to check the tank, which was, of course, empty. Amy sighed, packed the baby in his carrier, and started to walk to a gas station. The snow was coming down harder now. "Great, just what I goddamned need," she thought as she began to cry. She surprised herself with the intensity of her sobs. "How am I going to do this? How can I get through the next 15 years without driving myself and the kids crazy?" It's hard for everyone. Maybe your terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day wasn't as dramatic as Amy's, or maybe it was worse. But we all have at least one story to tell about that day. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, we've all run out of gas, or worse. Parenting is hard for everyone, but especially hard when family is far and the village that it's supposed to take seems full of idiots or other parents who don't have the time for us. And this is how most of us parent these days, without a network and without a net to catch us or a hand when something inevitably goes south. The promise of parenting was connection and love, yet we find ourselves lonely and overwhelmed much of the time. And even if we do have some help, there is always a price to pay. It is so easy to run out of gas. How can we gas up and not lock up the brakes? If we restore our own well-being, might the quality of our parenting expand? Our aim in this book is to offer you a toolbox of techniques, anecdotes, humor, support, and guidance to help keep you sane during the parenting years and to help you find joy as well. and we'll help you learn to see the problems that arise not as intrusions or interruptions of your former child-free life, but as opportunities for wisdom and growth. Replenishment, you scoff. What about anger management? Or Xanax? How about a double martini? I get it. We've all been there. But what I hope to teach you in this book is that it is easier to manage your anger, take responsibility, keep your mood steady, and enjoy your child or children while you are taking care of yourself. The writer Audre Lorde put it succinctly, stating that caring for oneself is not self-indulgence, but self-preservation. Offering yourself mindfulness and compassion isn't about giving yourself free rein to be lazy, to shirk responsibility, or to sit on a cushion and contemplate your navel while your kids are fighting and destroying the house. It's not about being soft on ourselves. On the contrary, mindfulness helps us see clearly and act from a place of kindness and wisdom. In fact, one definition of mindfulness is clear seeing. So what is mindfulness? There are many definitions, but the one that has guided me as a parent and psychologist is a very simple no fuss, no frills definition. Awareness of the present moment with kindness and acceptance. With the constant stresses and strains of being a parent, whether it's a night without sleep, a child's tantrum, sibling rivalry, difficult in-laws, or a critical partner, we need a warm and compassionate response to our experience. Sounds nice, you might argue, but that isn't realistic. The world is tough. We're all constantly judged. It's out of touch to think you should always be kind and accepting. And sometimes I just get angry. And how do you teach kids right from wrong? How can you motivate them to do their best if you don't push? And we need to think about the future. It simply isn't practical. These are all excellent questions, and I'll address them. What I'm proposing is a radical way to parent, to be a parent, a different way to be with our kids and to be with ourselves. Most of us are used to motivating ourselves with criticism, thinking that if we yell at and berate ourselves, we will be better and more effective, happier and more successful. In fact, self-criticism rarely works. Kristin Neff, widely known for her comprehensive research on self-compassion, has written extensively about this. Motivating ourselves with kindness and compassion is actually more effective than using criticism. Yeah, sure, more stupid psychobabble, you protest, ready to pause this book. Hold on. These ideas are impacting the business sector as well. Charles Schwab, financial leader and philanthropist, wrote, "I have yet to find the man, however exalted his station, who did not do better work and put forth greater efforts under a spirit of approval than under a spirit of criticism." Let's illustrate this by returning to Amy, who consulted with me not for therapy, but for sanity, as she put it. "I don't need therapy," she protested, "but I do need a parenting coach. I don't know what I'm doing. My parents and my sisters, who also have young kids, are 2 flights away. I have no help, and I don't want to push away the new parent friends I'm just barely making." As we talked more, Amy's story unfolded. She had moved to the East Coast for her husband's job, leaving behind friends and family. "People are cold here, just like the weather," she said sadly. "And everyone looks so together. I feel like such a mess." She began to cry. "We moved here for Tom's job, not that he's ever here. They have him traveling twice a month. And when he gets home, he's exhausted and hungry and wants the kids to be all fun and the house to be all clean. And he forgets the house isn't a hotel room and doesn't have daily maid service." She paused and drew a breath. "It just isn't happening." She was silent for a moment. "I'm taking care of everyone. I'm not sleeping. I'm lonely, eating the kids' leftovers because I gained so much weight, but now I'm hungry most of the time. Sometimes I feel I'm going so fast that I'm barely breathing. But what is scariest is that I feel that I'm losing myself, and my brain is just mush. I've lost my old competent self. No one is taking care of me. I need some help, and I need it now. That horrible morning when I ran out of gas and had to walk to a station in the snow, I saw the sign that said, "Full service." And I wondered, will I ever feel full again? Am I always going to feel depleted? I tried the following reflection with Amy, which helped her reconnect with feeling competent. Reflection: finding yourself. Do you feel like you lost yourself when you became a parent? Take a moment and ask yourself the question, who am I? Ask it again and again. Did parent come up in one of the first answers? That's wonderful. But who else are you besides a parent? We can't lose this essence of who we are as we become overwhelmed with parenting. As our work progressed, I added the following practice inspired by Christopher Germer's The Mindful Path to Self-Compassion, which Amy did when she woke up in the morning. This is a great place to start. We know that you're busy and don't have free time. Don't worry. Set a timer. It only takes 3 minutes. Don't tell me you don't have 3 minutes. Tending to yourself. Audio track 1. Take a moment and find a comfortable seat. Let yourself settle for a few moments. Find your breath. Sometimes we are so busy we don't realize that we're breathing. Where is it? Where do you most notice the sensation of breathing? Focus there and feel the breath move in and out. Let yourself feel one breath fully. Ask yourself, how do I know that I'm breathing? Notice any sensations in your body. What are you noticing? Are you hungry? Tired? What emotions are you aware of? What are you feeling? Just as you rock or hold your child, let yourself be gently rocked and held by each in-breath and each out-breath. Let the inhalation and exhalation soothe and comfort you, anchor you. If you like, put a hand on your chest or a hand on your chest and belly. Feel the comfort of your warm touch. Let yourself take 5 breaths. Yes, you have time for 5 breaths. You are breathing anyway. Give yourself permission to tend to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You spend so much time taking care of others, attending to their needs. Take a moment. What do you need? Give yourself permission to eat, to shower, to rest, to stop and breathe. Amy tried this for a few weeks. Some days all she could manage was 3 breaths, but even that seemed to help. Even though this seemed so simple, she felt that it grounded her. Sometimes I'm so frantic that I forget to eat or don't have time to shower. I was running on empty. And now I'm realizing the truth of the saying that I grew up with in the South, she said with a laugh. If Mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I can't not sleep or eat and expect the family to run smoothly. If I have nothing to give, everyone suffers. What I realized, which was a big breakthrough for me, is that I don't have to depend on someone else to fill me.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?